The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. PHIVOLCS is reporting increased unrest over the Taal volcano, signaling probable magmatic activity. But will this lead to an actual eruption? Let's get more details on the matter. We have with us on the line DOST Undersecretary and PHIVOLCS Director Renato Solidum Jr. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, Riza.
Yusek, can you talk to us about the recent developments in Taal, and is there an increased activity in the past 24 hours that could be a cause for alarm?
There have been increases in the number of volcanic earthquakes in the past few days, but this is off and on. For example, yesterday we have counted around 302 volcanic earthquakes in the past 24 hours. However, for the last 20 hours, there are no significant earthquake events. And these earthquakes are smaller in strength or energy than in the past days. So what is happening is that there are episodes of volcanic earthquakes, and then it would stop for several hours and then continue again. This would mean that the movement of magma is sluggish, and it's not really directly ascending fast enough towards the surface. In fact, it is probable that some magma are moving within the island in a lateral manner, which would explain the number of events that we are recording.
Yusek, with this pattern of activity, the increased unrest, will this lead likely to an eruption?
It is possible that it can lead to an eruption, and that is why we're closely monitoring it. Now, there are at least two scenarios if we talk about magmatic eruption. It can be not so explosive, where there can be emission of lava on the surface. This would not be significantly dangerous. This would just be on the island. Or it is also possible that there can be explosions. But the volume of magma that we're estimating near the surface is not large enough. And we think that the current prohibition of the Taal volcano island as being restricted would be enough for now. So we will have to observe what will happen with the volcano in case there will be some explosions. As you can see, in January of 2020, the eruption started with smaller explosions, steam-driven explosions, which can also happen in Taal at this moment. But what happened last year was the magma at depth ascended rapidly that propelled the larger explosions later in the day of January 12th. So we need to closely monitor the volcano, and people have to be ready in case there is a need to evacuate.
Sir, aside from the probability of an eruption, what other dangers should we look out for, especially those that are staying around the area?
For now, the steam-driven and gas emission are possible, even though there will be no magmatic eruption. But those in the shorelines of the volcano right now are okay. They're safe. Once we raise the alert level to 3, then we will recommend other areas to be evacuated.
So far, sir, it's on alert level 2. It's where it's been for about 3 weeks now. Do you see the need to raise this alert level anytime?
Well, it depends on how the volcano will manifest its activity. Right now, we're not seeing continuous ascent of magma. So once we see that, then we can raise the alert level, because once we raise the alert level, the probability of having a magmatic eruption increases.
Yusek, thank you very much for your time. That was DOST Undersecretary and PHIVOLCS Director Renato Solidum Jr. A 49-year-old Filipino was killed and burned in Burnaby City, Vancouver, Canada. Canadian authorities confirmed that the charred body found near a playground in Burnaby, Vancouver, was that of a Filipina. The victim was identified as Maria Cecilia Loreto, an immigrant from Philippines, whose remains were found by the police last week. Two suspects, a 21-year-old man and a 15-year-old teenager, are facing charges of first-degree murder and indignity to human remains for the death of Loreto. This is a developing story, and we'll bring you more details as soon as we have it. Now, in other news, one doctor is backing the use of quick substitution list to prevent vaccine wastage. But the health department insists all substitution lists should still exclusively include frontline healthcare workers. Greg Gregorio with the details.
The health department said no vaccine doses were wasted after 7,500 doses of AstraZeneca shots were returned by the Bicol Regional Health Unit. Based on a preliminary investigation by UNICEF and the World Health Organization, one of the boxes has a faulty temperature logger. That's why it yielded a 400 degrees Celsius reading. Temperature loggers are placed to maintain the potency of vaccines while in transit. This means that the recalled doses can still be used by the Bicol unit.
Isang box lang po ito ng AstraZeneca vaccines na nakitaan ng ganito. Ito pong isang box ng bakuna na ito, chinek na natin, may initial information and recommendation na itutuloy ang pagbabakuna dahil potent pa yung mga vaccines.
Dr. Nina Gloriani, the country's vaccine expert panel chief, said it's a good thing that Oxford-made shots freezer requirement is not that extreme.
The AstraZeneca, both AstraZeneca and Sinovac vaccines only need refrigerator conditions. So if they were kept at 2 to 8 degrees all throughout that yung period, that they should still be good. So basta na maintain that way.
Moving forward, the DOH says it will further ensure that delivery equipment is at par with what the WHO requires. To prevent vaccine wastage, one doctor has expressed support to the quick substitution list run by LGUs. AstraZeneca's vaccines are stored in multi-dose vials, where at least 10 doses can be extracted from each vial. This means that once a vial has been opened, all doses must be administered immediately.
So sayang yung matitira, itatapon mo yon. Kanino ko ibibigay? And it will not last the whole day. So rather than make the vaccine go to waste, then I personally would give it to a group that probably wants to get the vaccine.
The DOH, however, insists that the substitution list must only include healthcare workers for now.
Ang ating kasama sa quick substitution list would also be a part of our priority sector for now, which are the healthcare workers who are our frontliners.
The DOH says it is up to the national government to say when the vaccination program will shift to the next set of priority sectors. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Not only does the current COVID-19 pandemic endanger our physical health, it also exacerbates mental stress and takes a toll on our overall psychological health. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez tells us more.
The Philippines' battle with COVID-19 has been pushed on for more than a year now. And while community quarantines have been the go-to measure to curb infections, it is also seen as a factor aggravating mental health struggles for some.
Hello guys! Andito tayo ngayon sa Mount Caragao, dito sa Barangay Victoria.
While some people write journals, Melinda takes photos and videos for work or just for fun. But behind the contagious smiles are personal battles. In the middle of the pandemic, she left a decade-long career in media to work in the public sector. With all these changes came the anxiety and self-doubt.
I dread every day na kung papasok pa ba ako or not. Feeling ko, everything and everyone is already against me.
As the pandemic sped past its first year, the health department reported an increase in calls to the hotlines of the National Center for Mental Health. In the first quarter of the year, there were 3,000 calls to the hotlines, almost 900 of them suicide-related. Non-government organizations like the Natasha Goldburn Foundation also noticed a spike of hotline calls. The foundation was getting 60 to 80 calls a day, averaging 1,800 to 2,200 calls in the last 3 months. Roughly half of the callers are struggling through financial problems brought by the pandemic. But there are also students as young as 10 years old, experiencing stress under the blended learning system. The anxiety and stress has spilled over to the foundation's social media page.
In our Facebook, we have already threats. I'm going to kill myself.
It doesn't help that there is a stigma associated with those seeking help.
We have to stop gossiping, rumor mongering, trying to figure out what really caused a suicide, what caused a mental depression.
Whether it is through a helpline or a helpful friend, Melinda says what matters is having someone to talk to and someone to listen.
It really helped me na may ibang nagbabalidate dun sa feelings ko.
COVID-19 does not choose who it hits. That goes the same for anxiety and depression. And while we're in the middle of a rising wave of cases, creating more fears and frustrations, it's important to be reminded that there are people and organizations willing to help. I'm Pamela Vasquez and we are One News.
A women's group warns of a, quote, shadow pandemic amid the COVID-19 crisis. In an interview with One News, the chiefs Zonta International said that there is an increase in violence against women and children during the lockdown. Leah Bautista of Zonta International adds that women also bear additional responsibilities amid the pandemic.
During this lockdown, we saw that there is an increase in violence against women and children. There is an increase in cases of domestic violence, sexually, physically, psychologically. Women bear the additional burden of household chores during this pandemic, and we saw that we can see that women are there are more women as frontliners.
Now here are the latest developments in the NCR Plus bubble. No less than 15 healthcare workers in Pasay City General Hospital test positive for COVID-19 after receiving Sinovac jabs. Hospital officials say most of them are asymptomatic or mild symptoms and insist that this is due to the first dose of the vaccine, adding that the second dose will be given next week. The second batch of 400,000 Sinovac jabs will be given to healthcare workers in high-risk areas within the NCR Plus bubble. Palace spokesperson Harry Roque said that the vaccines will be administered as soon as possible to healthcare workers. In Navotas, 47 out of over 200 quarantine violators arrested from March 13 to 19 tested positive for COVID-19. Mayor Toby Tiangco said this shows that those who breach safety protocols are very prone to infection and could become super spreaders of the virus. Now, because of the rise in COVID-19 cases, the Philippine General Hospital has suspended all ambulatory services from March 29 to March 31st. This includes the Outpatient Department, Cancer Institute, and the Ophthalmology Center. Meanwhile, telehealth and other UP health services will continue to operate. CHED approved limited face-to-face classes in 24 higher education institutions offering allied health degrees programs starting the second semester of this school year. CHED Chairman Prospero de Vera said 18 more colleges and universities complied with the joint guidelines of the CHED and the Health Department from the initials HEIs. This means that the third and fourth year students under these programs can now attend limited face-to-face classes for hands-on training and laboratory classes. Approved for limited physical classes are Our Lady of Fatima University in Pampanga, Laguna, and Quezon City, the La Salle Health and Medical Institute, the University of Perpetual Help Laguna, the Manila Central University, and the Mariano Marcos State University in Ilocos. More universities from Camarines Sur, Iloilo, Cebu, Zamboanga del Sur, and Cagayan were also included in the list. The Toll Regulatory Board has approved provisional toll rates for Skyway 3. According to TRB spokesperson Julius Corpus, the provisional rates for Phase 1 or from Buendia to Santa Mesa is 105 pesos. For Phase 2 or from Ramon Magsaysay to Balintawak is 129 pesos, while from end to end, the rate is 264 pesos. But TRB maintains that these rates are still temporary and may change based on developments in the coming days, and that SMC may not collect these rates until they have been given authority to do so. SMC was previously eyeing to start collecting fees last February after making Skyway 3 access free for a month. From plexi doors to private phone booths, Bloomberg reports the many ways the coronavirus could transform the open office post-pandemic.
Every few years, people declare the open office dead. Will coronavirus officially kill it? companies love open office floor plans because they cut down on real estate costs and can stuff a lot of people into the same space. Plus, they say people collaborate better when they're sitting elbow to elbow. Workers hate them because there's no privacy, auditory or visual, and there's no space, elbow to elbow. But now, with coronavirus, there's a whole new set of challenges. When we return to the open office, what will it look like? Right now, companies are scrambling to figure that out. But one thing's for sure, from the moment you enter the office to the moment you leave, things are gonna look pretty different. From the elevators, where you'll have to sanitize everything and stand 6 feet apart, to the pantries, where you're probably not gonna be sharing plates, to your seating arrangements, social distancing will be paramount. And the ways that we work will have to adapt, too. But don't get too excited. The open office isn't officially dead yet. Most companies are experimenting with more short-term fixes. For example, Gensler, an architecture and design firm, has created a tool that identifies how many people you can fit in your space while still practicing social distancing. Maybe an 8-person bench will only have 3 people on it. The Netherlands branch of Cushman & Wakefield, a commercial real estate services firm, has developed a plan for a 6-feet office, where concentric circles on the floor show where to move and how to space to make sure you're really 6 feet apart from your coworkers. Other companies are buying up plexiglass dividers to put between people's desks.
This home of tomorrow reveals new uses for plexiglass in walls, doors, and fixtures.
Or buying phone booths, so you can teleconference your remote employees and get a little privacy. You'll have to sanitize them after use. Over the next few months, people will start trickling back into work. To reduce density, some of them will come back in shifts. Others will choose to or be forced to work remotely for the better part of the year. Is the way we work together going to change forever? Well, leases are long, construction is expensive, and the public health situation is changing by the day. For now, it's too soon to tell.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.